525 electoral votes, the highest electoral votes ever to date. Mondale had 13. It was 58.8% for Reagan, 40% for Mondale. It was the second lowest tally of votes by anyone since Alf Landon in 1936. In 1988, the first George Bush, George H.W. Bush, was the vice president for Ronald Reagan, ran for election as president against Michael Dukakis. Now, George Bush's running mate was Dan Quayle. The running mate for Mike Dukakis was a gentleman named Lloyd Benson, who ironically enough, 18 years earlier, defeated the same George Bush for the Senate campaign in the state of Texas. Trivia question. What did Gerald Ford do that no other president did prior to him becoming president? He was the first sitting president to participate in a live TV debate, establishing a tradition which continues to this day. Now, since 1988, no presidential candidate has managed to get as many electoral votes or popular votes percentage as George Bush did in 1988. He was the first sitting VP to become elected president since Martin Van Buren in 1836. And it was the first time the same party, the Republican, took office for 3 terms since 1932 to 1948, when FDR and Truman did it as Democrats. Now, 1992 was an interesting year. We saw a fellow named Bill Clinton jump on the stage. He got the nomination for the Democrats, ran against the incumbent George Bush, H.W. Bush, and Clinton won 370 electoral to 168. 43% of the vote went to Clinton, 37.4% to Bush, and a guy named Ross Perot jumped on the stage and got 18.9% of the vote. It was the strongest third-party showing since 1912, when a really interesting thing happened. Now, you got to listen to this. 1912, you had a president in effect was William Taft. William Taft was the heir apparent of Teddy Roosevelt when Teddy was president in 1908. Teddy finished being president. He picked William Taft to be the president in 1908. He's up for re-election. Teddy didn't like what Taft was doing. Taft was a Republican. Teddy was Republican. So Teddy ran against him, did not get the nomination, and ran the Progressive Party. So you had Teddy Roosevelt going for president. You had William Howard Taft going for president. Together, they would have won the election. But because they split the vote, Teddy Roosevelt got a huge amount of votes. He got 27.4% of the vote. Taft got 23.2% of the vote. But a guy named Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, jumped in there, got 41.8% of the vote, became the president. In 1996, we saw Bill Clinton back up for re-election going against Bob Dole. That made the 4th of the 4 candidates who ran for election in 1976 to eventually lose the presidential election. Bob Dole lost to Bill Clinton. Clinton got 379 of the electoral votes versus 159 to Bob Dole. 49.2% of the vote went to Bill Clinton, 40.7% to Bob Dole, and Ross Perot ran again, this time not as well, only got 8.4%. The turnout was only 49% of the voting population in America, the lowest since 1924. Now in 2000, remember where you were, for the wonderful Hangin' Chad. George Bush defeated Al Gore. Very interesting campaign, very interesting election. Extremely interesting election. Bush got 271 electoral votes to Al Gore's 266. However, George Bush got 47.9 popular votes, percentage of the popular votes, to Al Gore's 48.4% of the popular vote. So in effect, Al Gore got 0.5 percentage more popular vote than George Bush. There was a big issue, if you recall, with the Chads, the elections in Florida. It ended up in the Supreme Court, where by a vote of 5-4, they decided to end the recounting, which swung the election on to George Bush. Now in 2004, George W. Bush went for re-election against John Kerry, and Bush won, as you know, 286 electoral votes to 251 for Kerry. 50.7% of the vote Bush got, for 48.3 for Kerry. It was the smallest margin of victory for a sitting president in the history of our country. And in 2008, we had a couple of firsts. Barack Obama ran for president against John McCain. Barack Obama won 365 to 173, 52.9% of the vote versus 45.7 for McCain. A couple of firsts here. Obama became the first African-American president, and Joe Biden became the first Roman Catholic vice president. Also, another little bit of trivia. Obama and McCain were the first people to run for office who were both not born in the 48 contiguous states, Obama being born in Hawaii and McCain being born at a naval air station in Panama. Now, 69.5 million people voted in that election, the highest number of people ever to vote for the president in all the life of our country. And in 2012, Barack Obama regained the presidency by defeating Mitt Romney 332 to 206, 51.1% of the votes versus 47.2% for Romney. And in 2016, Hillary Clinton received over 2.8 million more votes nationwide than Donald Trump, about 2.1% more. But Trump got 30 states with a total of 306 electoral votes, or 57% of the total of 538 that were in the whole election, making Donald Trump our 43rd President of the United States. That made the second time in 16 years the Electoral College decided the presidency. You've been listening to The Last Walk, Remember When, with your host, Ron Baumbach. And the songs you've been hearing have been Hail to the Chief by the U.S. Marine Corps, and Here's to Good Friends, sung, written, and composed by a good friend, Paul Cassone. A special thanks to a good friend, Mike, in the studios in the great state of Tennessee, as he makes our voice sound so much better. The book, The Last Walk on Our Block, is available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. It's in Nook, print, and Kindle versions. In addition, Ron Baumbach's available for presentations to talk to your group about the people, place, and things from the 1950s to 70s. If you're interested, reach out, and Ron will do his best to be there. Have a great week, and don't forget to vote. It's your right and your privilege. Have a great time. See you next time on The Last Walk. Remember when.
Here's to good friends, the ones we hold dear, the ones who will tell us what we need to hear, the ones who love us, right or wrong, and to all those good friends who give you this song, and to all those good friends who give you this song.